Hey, it's Sam Konnert, and today we are talking politics where the smart money might not be on Pierre Poilievre.
What's the dumbest bet I ever heard of?
I disagree.
This week, nearly 200 candidates, a riding bigger than Switzerland, and one perfectly manicured Ottawa bad boy. It's Battleground Battle River. Here on the politics team at Canada Land, we've known we wanted to do this episode for a very long time, and actually, I can remember the exact day we knew we wanted to do it.
And Global News is projecting that Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will lose his longtime rural Ottawa seat to Liberal Bruce Fanjoy.
That's right. In the early morning of Tuesday, April 29th, 2025, we found out that our little slogan boy, Pierre Poilievre, would be unable to sit in Parliament. And I don't mean to toot our own horn, but we put out an episode about Bruce Fanjoy a couple weeks before the election, and I said this.
This riding is going to be a lot closer than people originally thought.
My point here is that maybe you should listen to us. All that to say is now we are here and Pierre Poilievre is running in a by-election on August 18th in rural Alberta to get his seat back so he can continue to do Pierre Poilievre things.
My wife and I have been known to watch YouTube in your channel late into the night once we got the kids out, and so we've always enjoyed it. And I've learned a lot about Bitcoin and other monetary issues from listening to you.
The riding is Battle River-Crowfoot, and Conservative Damien Keurig won the riding with 82.8% of the vote, but like a good little young MP, he stepped aside for PP. But don't feel too bad for Damien, though. He took a job as a principal with Upstream Strategy Group, doing whatever principals at strategy groups do. But before I went to this riding, I thought this would be a slam dunk for Pierre Poilievre. But now, things have changed, and it might not be as safe as we once thought. So I wanted to know, are we in for Carleton 2.0? There are over 200 people running against Poilievre. Most of them are participating in a campaign to jam up the ballot, but some of them are for real. They are running to win, or so they say. I want to meet some of them. Last week, I set out at the crack of dawn to go to what some would call a middle-of-nowhere riding, which is now weirdly in the national spotlight. I drove through oil wells and the bright yellow canola fields and the cattle ranches and the Badlands, and it's all spread across an area bigger than Switzerland or Belgium or Costa Rica, or pick a small country, it's probably bigger. Almost 52,000 square kilometers, but not only is it huge, it is a deeply conservative stretch of Alberta shaped by a long-standing hatred of Ottawa.
I've actually had voters say, I'm having a hard time finding a candidate that supports separation. Of course, that's going to be hard because this is a federal job. You know, if you support separation, then you lose your job.
That is Sarah Spanier. She was my first stop. I walked in and her very big, very fluffy dog met me at the front door.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How about you? Come on in.
Thank you. I'm Sam.
Sarah, nice to meet you.
Sarah.
Sarah is from Calgary, but now she lives in the town of Castor, about 150 kilometers east of Red Deer, and both 3 hours from Calgary and Edmonton. It has a population of 803. It's got 2 restaurants, it's got 3 churches, 1 museum, and a small hospital.
I had to go to the hospital once, and there was no doctors.
But Sarah wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
I wanted to move here. I wanted to live in a small town. I wanted that lifestyle, so I came and I did it.
What was your first reaction when you heard Pierre would be running here?
Oh, I was mad. I was very mad. That anger is what fueled me to want to do this and want to do this properly. I'm the eldest daughter, so I'm somebody I just got to get it done. You know, if somebody's not doing it, I'm going to step in and do it.
So she got a campaign manager and started running on platform points that mattered to her and her neighbors.
Bringing back funding and grants and jobs and programs that Damien never brought back. You can look at his voting record. You can see that he never brought anything back to the community. If we just look at, MPs across the board, generally they put out 0 to 2 bills in their entire career. I already have a draft of 1 and a second one on the way, and I'm not even elected yet.
And what is that bill? If I could have a...
That bill is called the Affordable Food for All Act. So what that would do is combat price gouging from grocery stores, like Loblaws. And it would also ensure that the food that these grocers throw out that is still edible gets donated to food banks or other food security programs.
What are some other really big issues that you've heard from people?
I've heard a lot of people talk about rural crime as well. That's starting to go up. Domestic violence against women is something that is really rampant here.
Sarah's got big plans, but it has definitely not been a smooth start to her campaign. She's been getting some pretty serious threats.
They started immediately. The moment I put my name out, I actually first spoke to the RCMP on May 9th about this, and then it just continued the more I got myself out there. And then the moment I supported trans rights and trans youth was when things just took a turn for the worst.
And what kind of threats, what kind of comments were you getting?
The big comment, you come to my door, I'll have a shotgun. You come to my door, you'll regret it. I hope you get destroyed. You're not welcome here. You're ignorant. What else is there? There's been so many.
But credit to Sarah, it's not stopping her.
I don't take it personally. I take it as people who have been hurt by the opposite side, and they will just take that anger and frustration out on me. But there are also some of the most genuine people here I've ever met, and they are a big reason why I'm running.
Now, there is no polling in this riding, so it is very hard to tell where the candidates stand, but there is one independent candidate that has been getting some serious attention, and that candidate's name is Bonnie Critchley.
Bonnie Critchley is running as an independent candidate in the upcoming by-election in Battle River-Crowfoot.
And our guest today has some very strong opinions about Pierre Poilievre. Of course, my guest is Bonnie Critchley.
And it seems as if the biggest contender for that seat, besides Poilievre, of course, is somebody named Bonnie Critchley.
I met Bonnie in Camrose, Alberta, about an hour and a half northwest of Casper.
Hey, Sam. Hi. Nice to meet you. So this is going to be interesting. And this may blow up spectacularly in our face because people don't want to be on camera. They're quietly angry. Mm-hmm. Most people don't want to have this conversation with their neighbors.
That was kind of an ominous message, but I went with her team for some door knocking and I quickly understood what she meant.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. My name's Larissa.
Hey.
Listen, I'm just going door to door for Bonnie Critchley. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why you would open our door.
Oh, sorry, just the outer one.
No, I don't. What about it?
Okay. Bonnie Critchley is running as an independent in the upcoming by-election.
So people don't always take kindly to door knocking, I learned, but that was not stopping her team. They have been putting in the work, driving all across eastern Alberta.
I mean, we did a road trip. And we were on the road for like 8 hours this weekend.
Bonnie has a very different style from Sarah. She's a bit more direct.
I was wondering, did you vote for the Conservative Party?
Now, I've often said I am not going to answer that question because people's votes are private. And that is an extremely rude question to ask somebody. And if I don't expect them to answer it, I'm going to lead by example and I'm going to refuse to answer it because people should be allowed to vote as they see fit without being judged for their votes. So no, I'm not going to answer that question.
Bonnie is a 22-year veteran with the Canadian Armed Forces and she served in Afghanistan.
I spent 22 years in the military, served with the King's Own Calgary Regiment, been overseas. I have dealt with foreign dignitaries. I've dealt with foreign officers. I've dealt with troops. I have all sorts of experience. Being a soldier is not just bang, bang, run, shoot, drive, grunt. It is a lot of taking in vast amounts of information, making quick, rapid decisions, and understanding how that's going to affect you, your team, and the rest of the field.
Bonnie has a very different resume than Pierre, that is for sure, and she thinks her neighbors appreciate that. But if you have ever lived in a small town, you would know people don't want to ruffle feathers. Remember when she said door knocking with media could explode? Bonnie thinks that there is a silent majority of people who do not appreciate Pierre parachuting into the riding, but they would never publicly say that.
Most people don't want to have this conversation with their neighbors. They don't want to get into the argument. They're just tired and they're just done. I'm serious, but it is such a quiet, angry. You go to one door and they're like, I'm the only one in this neighborhood, but I like what you're doing. I'm going to vote for you. I go to the next door. Next house. I'm the only one in this neighborhood. And it's just because they don't want to have the conversation with the angry guys. They just don't want to have that fight.
And at the heart of the campaign, Bonnie is running on a lot of the same issues that Sarah is. Rural issues.
Right to repair. The ability to repair your own equipment, be it tractors or dishwashers. This forced obsolescence is increasing our cost of living. Then we're looking at the agricultural innovation. Federal government has stepped back from seed research, and that's now being given to corporations. And seed research is important because we end up with drought-resistant seeds. So the farmer only has to do 1 or 2 laps around his field instead of 4 or 5.
And one thing about Bonnie, she is driven.
I heard you say in an interview that you don't want to be doing this.
I don't. I was enjoying my retirement, but duty is duty, and I simply could not live with myself as I watched things continue to circle the drain. The leak over from American-style politics is damaging to our neighbors. It is damaging to ourselves, and somebody needs to stand up and do something about it.
Does that damage your enthusiasm for the job?
No, duty is duty. I didn't want to deploy to Kandahar and get shot at and bombed every day. But I still volunteered for the job, and I still did it to the absolute utmost of my capabilities.
Now, Bonnie has been somewhat the face of independent and third-party candidates, but you better believe there are many others.
My name is Michael Harris. I'm going into this by-election on behalf of the Libertarian Party of Canada. I've been an organizer with libertarian movements throughout Alberta for probably the last, I'd say, about 5 or so years.
And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Michael?
I am currently 21.
Have you always wanted to run for office?
Probably since I was about 15 years old. I didn't know I was going to run in this by-election, but I think the April election probably solidified it for me.
Guess what? Also mad at Pierre Poilievre.
A lot of people were shocked that he lost. A lot of people put a lot of faith behind him that he was going to be the guy. He was going to win this election. I mean, I don't mind him coming to Alberta, but my problem is that he hasn't changed. I was hoping, okay, maybe this is the first time that he's actually going to switch his policies to be a little bit more pro-Albertan, whether that be fighting to end supply management, ending equalization, or just supporting the average rural Albertan. And in my opinion, he hasn't changed one damn bit.
My name is Darcy Spadie. I'm an engineer. I originally grew up in Three Hills. University of Alberta Petroleum Engineering is where I studied. Had a long career in the oil and gas industry, mostly domestic North America, some international. And then I got involved in global work, becoming the international president of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, which is at the time was about 160,000 members.
Being with the background you have, you are probably intimately familiar with the distaste for the Liberal Party. So maybe if you could just tell me what it's been like door knocking so far.
Well, I'm going to correct you on distaste. When you haven't seen a critter in years, you don't realize it exists. You're always a little bit apprehensive. And frankly, I can remember in 1978 in Three Hills, there was a credible local Liberal candidate. And I can't name too many since. So it's a species that is extinct in the centrist areas here. And so frankly, I think the people are not much different, but but the right-wing parties have moved harder right, and the progressives who used to hang around center, they're not there anymore. So door knocking has been interesting. I've expected some unpleasant surprises. I'm maybe not wildly pleased with the result. I'm very pleased with the result I'm hearing. People are kind, people are good, people are reasonable. The amount of negative altercations I've had are quite small. And for that, I'm quite happy. It's been fun. It's honestly been a lot of fun.
When you talk to people at the Stampede or the rodeos and the different events, what kind of issues are you hearing from them? And then I guess that leads me to the question, what are the issues that you are advocating for?
Number one issue across the board is, who is this guy and why is he dropped in on us? I am hearing that over and over. Who is Pierre Poilievre? Why are we having another by-election? What is this costing us? Over and over. And then once they get past that, what I want to talk about is my expertise, my background. I've worked corner to corner to corner to corner. I guess there's 4 of them in this riding, in the oil and gas sector. For years, I was field-based, and I've drilled and constructed and stimulated and done reservoir work on shallow wells, deep wells. I know the coal bed methane formations here in the center. I know the deeper formations to the south. It's just I want to tell them I've been in the energy industry in the field side, not the head office side. These are field people here doing the good work in the field. So I want to talk energy. I want to talk carbon price. I want to talk carbon offsets, all energy related things. And I want to talk agriculture. It's been a blast driving by all the crops, watching how it's been a nice, moist summer. I don't know how it was last week when you were here, but it's the moisture's perfect. The canola's flowering nicely. The cereals are starting to turn a little bit, and I kind of get distracted by tractors and crops. So my 2 big issues are energy and agriculture because I understand them. So far, the constituents' biggest single issue is, why are we having a by-election, and who is this top contender?
You're running a riding that hasn't elected a Liberal MP in over 100 years. Why do you think your party can win this here?
I'm confident my party can win it simply because I'm getting out there and meeting the reasonable centrist people, and that's the majority. My biggest problem is exposure. I need to talk to all of them, and that's 100,000 people in an area the size of Belgium. It's not going to work. But, we're trying to get the social out. We're trying to get to community functions. We're playing the accordion as hard as we can in every parade. We want, first of all, people to be aware there is a choice, and that choice is somebody working hard from the region. And I believe that when your average person out here sees that there's a progressive centrist choice in a government that's moving very quickly and very businesslike to get things done, the problems melt away. I think it's going very well. I'm greatly encouraged.
Bonnie, Sarah, Michael, and Darcy are all full guns a-blazing against Pierre Poilievre, but there is one other piece to this very large puzzle: the longest ballot committee.
As federal conservative leader Pierre Poilievre hopes to win a seat here in Alberta in next month's by-election, activists are stuffing the ballot with names.
The group that targeted Pierre Poilievre's Ottawa riding in the last federal election is at it again.
Some of these ballots many meters long when they're actually all printed out. Pierre Poilievre is calling on the federal government to change election rules to prevent candidates from essentially flooding the ballots to confuse voters.
The candidates that I talked to had some opinions.
I believe it's going to hinder the people here and going to hinder the voting, and we may not see as big of a turnout because people don't want to go deal with that ballot. I don't see it as really affecting me. I see it as affecting the riding.
It's a stunt that's going to damage democracy. I can't do anything, so head down, put shoulder to the grindstone, and we're just going to go and run my race as is.
It's rough. It's rough. This show of force that the longest ballot committee is putting on, unfortunately, makes our groups look like a joke. makes it look like everybody other than Pierre or maybe even the Liberals are not really an actual honest opposition, where that's completely untrue.
But, we get places because of democracy, and we get places because we set up the system. It's probably time we look at how this happened, and maybe we shouldn't have this happening.
To understand the longest ballot committee a little bit better, we talked to someone that is on the ballot thanks to the longest ballot committee.
I'm a candidate in the Battle River-Crowfoot, a very apt name considering what's going on right now. It's definitely a battle.
That's Jayson Cowan. He is an independent candidate living in Saskatoon.
Crowfoot's my indigenous territory. My great-great-granduncle signed Treaty 6. That's Treaty 6 territory. Treaty 6 has been my home for my entire life, pretty much.
Jayson has always had an ambition to run for public office.
Well, I tried to run in 2019. Nobody was helping me understand how things were done. But they wouldn't put me on the ballot because I didn't have enough signatures.
A reason he couldn't get enough signatures is because Jayson has a disability.
Well, there isn't a lot of campaigning a disabled person can do. Collecting names was the most impossible thing for me because I'm disabled, and going to 50 homes, that was hard.
But one thing the longest ballot committee did is it presented him with an opportunity to do what he has always wanted to do, and that is run for office.
I just saw an opportunity to get on the ballot, and they served that up. And that is a very good democratic service. I don't know where Pierre Poilievre gets his rhetoric from, but there is no scam. The last thing we want is to discourage participation. If 1,000 names were required to get on the Crowfoot ballot, there would be nobody on that ballot except for him. He would have that riding uncontested. But that's what he wants. Everybody is participating as citizens in a democratic process. And if he doesn't like the way it's being handled, as in there's too many people on the ballot, well, suck it up, sunshine. That's the way I...
Wrapping my head around the size and scope of this by-election is making my head spin, so I called someone who has a lot of experience as an MP in these parts, Monte Solberg. He was the MP for Medicine Hat in the 90s and early 2000s, which is another massive riding. He gave me some pretty unique insights.
The first most obvious thing with a riding this big is you have to be prepared to jump in your truck and drive to go and meet people. Because the riding is so big and the communities are quite small and spread out. You sort of become familiar with the leaders in each community, whether they're the official leaders or the unofficial leaders, the people that know what's going on down at the coffee shop and can sort of be your eyes and ears when you can't actually be in the community.
What was your reaction to Mr. Poilievre deciding to run there?
Well, it's in some ways it's a coming home. I first met Pierre when he was a high school student and, very active young conservative in Calgary. So, he has perhaps a nodding acquaintance with what goes on in Battle River-Crowfoot. He'll know some of these issues somewhat by virtue of having been the leader. Yeah, it'll be a complete education for him. But you know what? He's a total pro, and he'll handle it well.
One of the reasons that I heard why Poilievre lost his riding in Carleton is that he wasn't present in the riding so much. Do you anticipate that being an issue here as well?
People are pretty sophisticated. They know that you can't be at every auction and every, Rotary Club meeting or whatever. First of all, you're an MP going to Ottawa, so they understand that. And secondly, as the leader, they get it. They know you're not going to be. They know you're not going to be at every thing. What they do expect is you to jump on a phone call or do a Zoom call or whatever to connect with people and make sure that you do stay in touch to some degree, and that's completely fair. But it's a massive country, and as the leader of the opposition, he's expected to be in every province and territory once a year, probably, and that means he can't be present in his riding. On the other hand, the good news is he brings some attention by virtue of representing a new riding, brings attention to issues that haven't necessarily gotten that kind of profile before.
The other thing that I heard was that the criticism that he's kind of parachuting in and doesn't have the knowledge or the connections to be effective in the riding. What do you make of that? Drawing maybe from your personal experience.
It's really about the effort you're prepared to put in. A lot of it is a steep learning curve, but agriculture is a really good example. It is so, there's so many aspects to it. Every crop, every producer group, and it's the difference between cereal crops and peas and, cattle. And I mean, there's just so many. Sugar beets for me was one of the big things. And they all have sort of a different dynamic to them. They have different players who are significant people that you need to talk to. So you really need to spend some time to learn all of that. But the good news is that, the people are terrific. Like, they're just great people. So, it may be a bit more learning, but there is a benefit, and you really establish these relationships, and, they can last a lifetime. I mean, one thing I can tell you about Pierre Poilievre is no one will outwork him in this campaign. He'll be at every community. He'll knock doors all over the riding.
Have any of the other candidates impressed you? I'm not sure how much you've been paying attention, but...
Well, I give Bonnie Critchley full credit for running a good campaign. I see her stuff everywhere, and that's good for her. I don't put much stock in lawn signs that are sitting in a boulevard, but when they're on people's lawns, that means something. I think, that sharpens everybody when you've got a real competitor that you're running against. So I think that's a very good thing. And she'll hold Pierre to account throughout the campaign.
Do you think there's ever a world where people in this riding would not vote Conservative overwhelmingly?
Well, yeah, you know what? I would never say never, but I mean, they will always be conservative oriented.
I assume he's probably very well liked in the riding.
Oh yeah, no, people admire him for his pugnacious style, standing up to the government. I think they also want maybe a little different Pierre than they've seen in the past. Somebody who can be a prime minister, and that requires a different sort of bearing. And he's been widely admired for being a truly effective leader of the opposition. If there was an area that maybe he fell short and couldn't break through in some of the key swing ridings, is that he wasn't necessarily seen as somebody that Canadians wanted as a prime minister, which was the difference between, he and Mark Carney.
You spend a lot of time around politicians like I have in the last couple of years. You come to expect a lot of the same answers. You ask these questions like, do you really think you can win? And the inevitable answer is, I am running to win. But that doesn't matter if people don't vote for them. So when I was in Camrose, I wanted to talk to some actual voters.
Are you going to vote?
I'm voting, and I have hopes for Conservatives.
Yeah. And does it feel weird to have such a rural place on the national spotlight at all? Like all of Canada is looking towards this riding to see what Poilievre's going to do.
I think it's exciting.
Yeah?
Really, yeah.
Tell me why.
I don't know. It just, like you said, it's for a small town like Camrose, I think it's very exciting that we're going to be on the map.
Yeah. And do you support Poilievre running in this riding?
I do.
Yeah, tell me a bit why.
I think he's for us, the people, and not for themselves.
And does it feel weird at all that he doesn't live here? Is that something that's on your... No?
No, it doesn't bother me.
It's a by-election. Yeah. He lost his seat in Ottawa in the Carleton riding, and he would have a by-election anywhere in Canada. He chose to do it here in Battle River-Crowfoot, which is an awesome riding to run a by-election in.
Does it feel weird to have someone like parachute in? And
not at all. He's originally from Calgary. He's an Albertan. He really didn't parachute in. He chose to select this riding for a purpose, and Pierre is a good advocate for any riding that he may choose to go into as the leader of the Conservative Party. So I think he's picked a wise choice, and he's got lots of support in this riding.
Well, there you have it, folks. The people have spoken, at least to me, but on August 18th, they will speak for themselves when they go to the polls. And one thing to note here before I let you go is that Poilievre has his leadership review coming up in January, and I'm sure the Conservative Party will be watching this election very closely, because if he doesn't blow away the competition, it could be the end of Pierre Poilievre. All right, that is everything. Thank you guys for tuning in. Reminder, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notified when we post our videos. Thanks for listening to Canada Land.